On the night of September 18th, 1966, an intruder climbed through a sliding glass door in her bedroom and savagely murdered her while her twin sister slept in the next bedroom and parents down the hall. Several suspects were identified, but no arrest was ever made. In 2016, an attorney tried to use the Freedom of Information Act to access any of the official documents and crime scene photos and was shut down by a Cook County judge. The public has never had any access to the information, and her sister, Sharon Rockefeller, yes, the Rockefellers, stated that the information should not ever be released. It's not known specifically why the family doesn't want any information released. The judge indicated that it was because the case is still active. Valerie Jean Percy, 21, was found beaten and stabbed to death in her bed September 18, 1966, in her family's Kenilworth mansion. It was the first homicide in the history of the North Shore suburb. Percy was the daughter of Chicago area business executive and then Republican U.S. Senate candidate Charles "Chuck" Percy. She had just graduated from Cornell University and came home to work on her father's election campaign. It was early on a Sunday morning, and the Percy family was asleep in its lakefront home when Valerie's stepmother Lorraine was awakened by the sound of someone moaning, and I got up to see what was the matter. Realizing the sound was coming from Valerie's room, Lorraine Percy opened the door and saw a man bending over the blood-soaked bed and shining his flashlight on Valerie's body. As the stepmother gasped in surprise, the intruder swung around and aimed the flashlight at her eyes, blinding her. She ran back into her bedroom, woke her husband, and pressed a burglar alarm. Before Charles Percy could reach his daughter's room, the killer fled down the stairs and out of the house. Lorraine Percy was able to give police only a vague description of the man. Dark-haired, about 5'8" and 160 pounds, and wearing a checkered shirt. Though the intruder was heard running away, and neighbors were awoken by the Percy home's alarm, there were no witnesses to his escape, and searches proved fruitless. From the start of their investigation, police were puzzled over what the motive might be because the intruder took no money or valuables from her room, and the position of the body did not indicate she had awakened and caught someone in the act of ransacking the room. From all appearances, Percy had been beaten about the head as she lay asleep and then stabbed. She was not sexually assaulted. In the first few years after the killing, investigators talked to thousands of people and tracked leads across America. One focus of their investigation was a cross-country burglary gang traced to Colorado, Illinois, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, and Texas. In the years after the Percy slaying, one jailed member of the group, Harold James Evans, told investigators that another member, Frederick J. Freddie Malchow, had bragged that he killed Percy. The convicted leader of the gang, Francis Leroy Hoheimer, also implicated Malchow as the killer. But Malchow already was dead by that time. FBI agents had interviewed him in a Pennsylvania jail where he was awaiting trial for rape and robbery in a home invasion in that state. Malchow denied any involvement with the Percy killing. In 1967, he broke out of jail and fell to his death from a railroad trestle as police moved in. To this day, I am convinced that Freddie Malchow was the killer and that he acted alone. Robert Lamb, the last full-time investigator in the Percy homicide, told the Tribune in 1991. Lamb noted that investigators were able to place Malchow in Chicago at the time of the slaying through an airplane baggage ticket. Charles Percy briefly suspended his campaign for the Senate after his daughter's death, but he resumed the race and defeated Democratic Senator Paul Douglas in the 1966 election. Percy represented Illinois for nearly 20 years and headed the powerful Foreign Relations Committee. He died in September 2011 at 91. The Percy's former home was demolished in 2010 to make room for a new residence. When the Tribune contacted Sharon Percy Rockefeller and asked her to share some memories of growing up there with her twin sister and other family members, the unsolved slaying was still fresh in her mind. "It was the happiest of times and the saddest of times," she said of life at the house. In recent years, new details related to the killing have come to light. The Tribune reported in June 2011 that a Percy neighbor, who was the first doctor to examine the victim, wrote a detailed account that he never showed to police. Dr. Robert Holf rushed to the house after getting an early morning phone call from Charles Percy. Holf, a surgeon at Evanston Hospital, wrote that he dashed upstairs and, stepping into Valerie's bedroom, "I saw immediately the figure of a badly battered girl, obviously dead." Holf was never interviewed by police and was not invited to the inquest for the slaying. After his handwritten report became known 5 years ago, authorities said it is valuable as a witness account, but does not differ substantially from the original police reports and timeline of events. This week, just days before the 50th anniversary of the Percy killing, Kenilworth officials released a document they say shows that police are still investigating the case. The document states that multiple people have confessed to the slaying, but detectives have disproved the claims by checking them against confidential information about the crime. Kenilworth issued the document at the request of a Cook County judge who is handling a dispute between the village and a New York attorney who thinks the massive files from the Percy investigation should be made public. The judge is scheduled to decide next month whether to order the release of some or all of the 20,000-page case file that includes witness statements, crime scene photos, tips, and investigative reports. Meantime, the slaying of Valerie Percy remains a mystery entering its 6th decade. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, my fabled listeners.